KNX News Time 722.
Well, it's no secret that we pay a lot in gasoline taxes here in California. We pay a lot at the pump just for the price of gasoline. But where do the taxes go? That's what we're going to explore for a couple of minutes here with State Senator Bob Huff of Diamond Bar, the Republican leader in the Senate. Senator, good morning to you. There's the question, because we do pay all these taxes for gasoline here in California, and I guess we need to know, where does that money wind up?
Well, some of it ends up in the general fund, in spite of the voters speaking out a couple of times saying that they want it dedicated to repairing our roads and bridges and infrastructure.
See, that makes all the sense in the world, that if we're paying money for gasoline and taxes for gasoline to drive around on the roads, that we ought to be able to fix the roads with the money.
Well, never underestimate the creativity of the legislature. The voters said they wanted us to do that in Prop 42 back in 2002. 69% of the voters said that. Then later on, when we started stealing that money, actually we borrowed it, then Prop 22 in 2010 said, well, you can't borrow it. Well, then they found another loophole. So they're still diverting about $1 billion a year away from fixing our roads and streets and putting it back in the general fund.
All right, so what are you going to do about that?
Well, I've got a constitutional amendment introduced yesterday, SCA 7, which would say you can't do that again. And
what would it take to make that constitutional amendment actually become the status of the situation here in California? How many, I guess what I'm saying is, how many hoops do we have to jump through before that happens?
Well, I think the biggest hoop is getting it through the legislature. It takes a two-thirds vote to get a constitutional amendment and placed on the ballot. And if that's successful, then it would be on the November ballot in 2016. And, of course, the voters would need to do that. But every time we put a similar question to the voters, they say, heck yes, we want that money to go to fix roads. Yeah,
but at the same time, you just said a couple of moments ago, it's the legislature that keeps borrowing that money. So are they going to give up that, being able to tap that fund?
Well, that is the $5 billion question. That's how much we have diverted since the voters spoke last time.
All right. So if the voters, here we are in California, voters say, I want to do this or we want to do that, this, that, and the other. And then all of a sudden, Sacramento figures out a way to get around it. So that's what we're looking at.
Well, it's a little more difficult for them. They got to be very, very creative, and each time we nail it shut, it's a lot more difficult for them to get creative. But if we do it just through statute up in Sacramento, they can change it the next year or anytime they want. So when you do a constitutional amendment, at least it has to go to a vote of the people to change it. That's both the good and the bad. But to change it, we have to take it back to the vote of the people, and hopefully we make it more difficult for them to take it and use it on other issues.
All right. So what kind of support have you got up there?
Well, we just introduced it. I think most people support it. The question is whether the leadership of the majority party is going to see that as a priority, as the people do, and let it get on the ballot, or are they going to push other things to the forefront? The governor, the Democrat leaders have talked about infrastructure this year. This is a very tangible way that we can use money that people have already earmarked for infrastructure and actually let it be spent that way.
Yeah, you know what the roads look like down here. You're from Diamond Bar, so you know what we need.
Well, my shock absorber has been replaced in the cars more than I care to admit, along with blown out tires and everything else.
Yeah, you and everybody else. All right, good enough. Senator, appreciate your time this morning.
Good to talk to you.
You bet. Senator Bob Huff there from Diamond Bar. KNX News Time, 725. Let's update what's happening with traffic and weather together on the 5s.